glorious and wonderful people across grand and mighty spectrums of time, indeed the multiverse. I am Gordon Johans, and Dan Carlin has put a new podcast out, and I think it's time to take stock of the situation and have a bit of a breather and sort of look at where we are now. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to end this short segment right here because I have a feeling this is going to be a long episode, and I'd want to make sure the rendering's not going to be an issue. So, I became a sort of fan of Dan Carlin within the sort of last couple of years, and I respect his views greatly, and I've sort of seen his kind of indecision on Twitter, which and the fact that it was kind of noticeable by its absence, the way that Dan Carlin's Common Sense didn't come out. And I suppose the thing is that, like, I don't actually listen to many political podcasts because I am trying to kind of, like, I don't need daily reminders of how, like, fucked we are. But Dan Carlin is someone I like hearing what he thinks about things. And, like, Donald Trump has been a fucking mad fool from the beginning. But at the same time, like, there was a time when, I mean, I discussed this in my big rant yesterday, that, like, the thing about Donald Trump is that you can never be, you're never quite sure where you are with him. Because even now, when, you know, he has done a lot of things that I'm going to be talking about later that are very problematic, even now, you kind of can't be certain how much of this is just him playing to his crowd. You know, like the fact that that Donald Trump is a reality TV star, right? That's like the one thing he's kind of good at, right? He plays to his he plays to a crowd, and his crowd are not people I like at the moment, but yeah, it's hard to know with Donald Trump whether he is genuinely sincere in what he believes or whether he is just playing to his crowd. And part of the reason this is difficult is because, you know, you look at his sort of political history, and he's generally sort of, you know, arguably to the left of Hillary Clinton in certain ways, in the sense that Donald Trump kind of, before appealing to the alt-right crowd, got him into the presidency. Like, before that happened, he was generally fairly left-wing, and that's part of what got him into the White House, I think, is that Donald Trump isn't, or it's difficult to know with Donald Trump what he is or what he isn't, because how much of him that is him playing to the crowd? How much of that is him not knowing what the fuck he's doing? And how much of that is him genuinely doing shit, right? How much of it is incompetence? How much of it is him exaggerating or doing things that he knows won't succeed and he's just playing to his base? And how much of that is him being serious? Hard to know. Hard to know. But certainly there is this sense that, like, until say he had properly gotten into office and, you know, shown what he was going to do, that you could kind of make a case for Trump in the sense that, like, I mean, obviously there is the fact that in America you've got a two-party system. I mean, it's actually as a sign of how pissed off people are and how weak the two parties were in the last general election that, you know, like Jill Stein and I think, was it Gary Penis last name or whatever his bloody thing was, Gary Todger, who was a libertarian or whatever. And the fact that you had essentially third-party parties who were third-party candidates who were getting any kind of sort of momentum. The fact that fucking Harambe got votes, right, is part of this idea that kind of, for all that, you know, it's arguable that Donald Trump is, you know, the rise of Hitler 2.0, this time with a toupee, orange tan, and no fucking clue. That even now, people are just so pissed off with the establishment that they just, you know, they'd seen George W. Bush, and then they'd seen Barack Obama. You know, the fact that the change candidate Barack Obama came in storming change, and he changed very fucking little, right? Like, brilliant. He brought in gay marriage, right? That's awesome. Didn't really do a whole lot else, right? Like, hey, I'm gonna get us out of Iraq. Oh yeah, we're going back in again. Like, the fact that essentially both parties had seen in their sort of within the sort of the memory of the people, there was this sense of, okay, the Democratic Party, they fucked it up. The Republican Party, they fucked it up. The establishment don't have a fucking clue. We can't trust them. What the fuck do we do? And this is why you had, like, in the sort of the primaries, you had, you know, Bernie and Donald, and it was like, come on, you know, could we have these two great, you know, change candidates? But at the end of the day, it was kind of decided, no, in the face of the Great Terror of, you know, Hitler 2.0, what we need is the kind of the safe candidate who can appeal across the boundaries, you know. Never mind that actually Donald Trump's support was actually coming from a lot of the same people who would have voted for Bernie, right? Never mind that actually when your political allegiances are, when your political standard that you are raising up is appealing to all the people who are just like, fuck the establishment, it doesn't really matter what your side of the, you know, political spectrum is, because if you're the candidate saying these guys know nothing, then you're gonna get support from all sides of the spectrum, because they know from George W. Bush and Barack Obama that they come in with all these promises and then fuck all happens. And so, you know, Bernie Sanders had a chance against Donald Trump, but the establishment was scared. The establishment saw the anti-establishment populist candidate coming, and instead of thinking, well, we need to counter them with our own anti-establishment populist candidate, they were going, oh shit, no, we can't let an anti-establishment populist candidate in. And if there is an air of populism, if there is an air of social desire for change, it's gonna look a lot better if we follow up the first black president with the first woman president, right? Like, they were thinking optics, because they're fundraisers, because that's what you do. If you're gonna be a president, if you're gonna run in the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, can you fundraise? And a fucking white woman is gonna stand a damn sight better chance in terms of fundraising and optics and getting out there, and that's why she won the popular vote, right? She won the popular vote. If America's electoral system made any kind of fucking sense, she'd have won. She didn't win enough. And the reason that she didn't win enough is that partly you had the die-hard Republicans who were just like, I don't care, Democrat I vote against because evil Democrat, right? And equally you had the people who were like, yes, come on, change, we can do change. And then they basically saw the Democratic Party say, fuck change, we're going to go with the status quo. I mean, the fact they literally decided to have the person running who was in the last government, like, that's not good. That's not good. When there is an air of anti-establishment fervor, and you put someone into play whose last name is, who is married to a former president and has just served under the last president, right? That is about as establishment as you can fucking get. You could not get more fucking establishment than Hillary fucking Clinton, because she had just served under the Obama administration, and she had served as the first lady during the Clinton administration. Like, you could not get more fucking establishment, and they decided to run the establishment candidate against the anti-establishment candidate. And I think the fact that Donald Trump is such a fucking trash fire is why Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, right? Because people were like, yeah, fuck the establishment, but also this guy is nuts. And I can understand why, you know, even if you didn't vote for Donald Trump, even if you thought, you know, like, yeah, Donald Trump's a fucking madman, I don't want him to be my president, that you might have been interested in what he was going to do. I mean, there were a couple of interesting political ideas that he had said with regards to, like, the whole stepping back politically and letting Europe take care of itself, which I know to certain people in Europe, certain people in England, is terrifying, because it's like, no, America wins the world wars, why do we want the world police stop doing things, and it's like, hang on. America aren't so much the world police as kind of, you know, an insurance racket. Like, oh, yeah, we're the police, yeah, we'll look after you, Oh dear, yeah, it appears like your bar got trashed, yeah. So, if you want us to make sure that doesn't happen, can you cough up, right? Like, America pretty much just goes into other countries, blows shit up, and takes their stuff. And, like, for a while there, Trump was saying, you know what, we can let Russia handle this, which... And the fact that Russia liked them for a while was kind of reassuring, because, yay! You know, cooling the Cold War tensions, less threat of apocalypse. And then things got scary. Well, no. Then things got scary as a white person. Right? Because if all Trump did was try to build a fucking wall, which I still don't think he's actually gonna do, and, you know, sort of go, immigrants, all rapists, fuck you. Right? Nobody would have given a shit. Right? Nobody would have given a shit. Like, Mexicans and immigrants, they'd be annoyed, but, you know, we're white men. We don't care. I mean, it's as Dan Cullen points out, you know, it's like, either you're in favour of borders or you're not. If you're in favour of borders, then all we're talking about is exact numbers. Right? Yeah, you know, of course, I want some sort of controls on borders. Of course, I want some sort of regulation on what the fuck is coming into my country. I'm a fucking regulated capitalist, for fuck's sake, right? If it can be regulated, I want there to be fucking regulations. But there is a difference between regulations and racism. There is a difference between making sure the people coming into your country don't literally have bombs strapped to them and basically saying, you look like a Muslim, we don't want you in our country because we're worried and scared for no reason, right? Like, white men are by far the biggest terror threat, right? Britain has dealt with terrorist threats in Britain from Ireland, right? And we didn't do any of this fucking Orwellian shit. We didn't do this fucking Orwellian shit. We weren't fucking stopping Irish people at borders. We weren't stopping Catholics from coming into the fucking country. Right? There is a difference between having someone at the border to make sure you aren't smuggling in guns and, like, rare fish and bombs, right? And having someone at the border making sure that none of the brown people come in. I don't fundamentally have a problem with controls on immigration because I am a fucking regulated capitalist. I like regulation. But the thing is, I think we have enough regulation. I don't think we need to have more regulation. I think that when people talk about having controls on immigration, what they mean is none of them brown people coming into our country. And that's the thing, is that, like, it's not the issues that are the problem so much as it is the execution. Right? And I mean, as much as I mock that goddamn wall, and I will keep mocking that goddamn wall, I I don't fundamentally have a problem with Donald Trump deciding to basically fund a massive make work project for people. I mean, the fact that essentially, I think, I don't know why I love it, because it's horrible, but basically one of the states offered to help Trump with the wall by loaning him some of his prisoners to help build it. So basically slaves, building the wall with slaves. And it's like, you really have to wonder, right? What is the difference between modern day sort of slavery and, you know, plantation slavery, when it's like, you know, in the days of the plantations, you know, people were shipped over in horrific conditions and were treated as property. Their rights were removed and they were made to work for nothing. Whereas now, you know, black people are going about their lives, and then a white cop sees them doing something that he wouldn't give a shit if a white dude were doing, and they get shipped in, end up doing a plea bargain to avoid, you know, getting the death sentence or whatever the stupid shit is. They end up in prison, and then some tool says, "Oi, Trump, I'll give you some fucking free labour." And so fucking black kids are gonna be building this fucking wall. The Great Wall of Trump built with black slave labour. Fucking joy. If that isn't a fucking testament to how fucked up his fucking administration is, I don't know what is. Well, there have been a lot of things, actually. That's the thing with Donald Trump. Like, there are a lot of fucking things that are fucked up about his administration. And it's only February. It's not even the end of February. It's not even the end of February 2017. And already there are far more than enough reasons why Donald Trump's administration is incredibly fucked up. But I think they all fundamentally come down to the fact that he is, as Dan Carlin notes, he's fucking authoritarian as heck. Utterly fucking authoritarian. And this is the thing. Republicans hold Congress. Republicans hold Congress. Donald Trump is a Republican. Right? I mean, okay, he's basically an independent running on a Republican ticket, but, you know, the point is, he is a Republican with a Republican Congress. There is, in theory, no reason why he can't just go about things in a... like, he could almost go about things in the manner of the great Augustus. Like, he could almost pretend to divest all power and just sort of say, "Hey, Congress, I've got an idea. It's not an executive order. I've just got an idea. What do you guys think? Oh, you've decided to draw up a thing for it and present it to me and ask if I'll approve it. Oh, I will. Thank you." Right? He could do that. And nobody would give a shit. Right? Okay, people would complain because, you know, if those things happen to be like a ban that will not actually affect any of the countries that have, you know, committed terrorist acts against America in the past, right? I mean, that was the thing that's the thing that is truly like, okay, this is just racist rhetoric playing to the base, right? Because it's just like, okay, he's going to do, he orders, he passes and doesn't pass it. He gives out an executive order banning immigrants because, terrorism. And the only countries that have actually had people responsible for terrorist acts in America, they're fine. They're not affected by the ban. And the reason they're not affected by the ban is because Trump makes money from them. The countries that have blown up America, the ban is supposed to counter, they're not affected by the ban because Donald Trump has a conflict of interest with those countries. I feel like that sums up the Trump administration right there. That it's like racist rhetoric, conflict of interest and greed, and not actually achieving anything. And you know, and the fact that had he suggested to someone in Congress, maybe now would be a good time for you to propose an immigration ban, right? And they had brought it to the table, he could have approved it straight away. Nobody would have given a shit. But because he decided to do an executive order, the executive order gets checked. And there you go. No, this is wrong, this is illegal. And it's like, the thing that's really scary about Donald Trump isn't so much the fact that he is a fucking racist appealing to racists. Because let's be honest, like, America is a country founded on white people committing genocide. America is a country that is founded upon slavery. Right? America has got a lot of racism inherent in it. And so it's not surprising that Donald Trump got elected on racist sentiment. What's surprising is that he is just into office and he is going about it as though he is a fucking dictator. I'm going to go get more drink. Donald Trump could pass whatever he wanted to without signing an executive order. Right? There are certain things that the president has to do and can't let Congress do for him. But he could let Congress do a lot of stuff, right? And instead of people screaming about Donald Trump, we'd be talking about, the Speaker of the House and how they were passing legislation in Congress. And, Trump could and ah and go, this is very unpopular, but I've got to do what is constitutionally appropriate, and I've got to stick up for Congress. Because, presidents, their powers have been overreaching, and we can't allow that. He could pass all these policies. But instead, he wants to do it himself. And he's signing executive orders. And it's like, I'm not American, right? I come from, I am an Englishman in England. I am familiar-ish with the English system, right? And the British system. And so the American system, part of the reason that I keep focusing so much on it is that it's more interesting because it's stranger. It is a very strange system, in the sense that you are a very, very powerful country, and you seemingly have taken a look at Rome and decided, you know what, we're gonna go with that. That's what we want to do. Despite the fact that Rome kinda had its fair share of troubles. Right? You know, it had its fair share of mad emperors. And this is why when, you know, people, when your founding fathers were founding America, they wrote into the Constitution that these different elements of the political structure were supposed to watch each other, right? You know, I suppose it's like why in Rome they didn't have one console, they had two consoles, so that they'd watch each other, so that they'd make sure nobody got too much power, you know. And this was why, you know, in theory at least, when you had the sort of imperial system, that you got the tetrarchy, that they would watch each other. And this is why you had triumvirates, because again, you have people who watch each other, who make sure everybody's okay and nobody's getting too fucking big. And America has just been denuding the power of Congress, denuding the power of the courts, and giving it more and more to the president. And, you know, the Republicans get it, and they make the presidency more powerful. And then the Democrats get it, and they make the presidency more powerful. And make it more powerful, and more powerful, more powerful, more powerful, more powerful, and more powerful. And then they're surprised when an authoritarian steps into this, and it's suddenly scary. And it is scary, because there is a racist elected by racists appealing to racists, who is now in charge, who is now commander-in-chief of a country that has won the last 2 world wars for us, that won the Cold War and is capable of fighting 2 Gulf War-sized wars at once. And oh, by the way, the only country that has possibly been able to hold a candle to their power in the First World War, the Second World War, and the Cold War, Russia, fucking likes them and got this guy elected. On the one hand, right, it's kind of nice and canny, because it means, like, we don't have the threat of Cold War or hot nuclear war. On the other hand, it means that, like, Germany as a country is tiny. You know, it's really big and huge in the sense that compared to what the countries that made it up were. And it's quite a large country by European standards, but it's tiny. It's this tiny thing surrounded by all these other countries, fairly landlocked, with not much of an empire, right? Because pretty much everywhere else went around and nabbed everything else up. That's why when it tried to take over the world in World War I, it failed, and that's why it failed again in World War II. Because it was this tiny little place hemmed in by everything else with no colonies. America is fucking massive. They've got Canada to the top of them, Mexico to the south of them, they've got colonies elsewhere, and they have military bases all around the world. Sorry, tangent. Not tangents, not just brackets, parentheses. I can't help, whenever I say all around the world, thinking of bloody flat earthers. I can't help thinking of the whole, you know, the Flat Earth Society has members all around the globe. But, you know, like, America is huge. It's got colonies. It's got a military bases fucking everywhere. And because power has been consolidated more and more and more and more in the presidency, we are now in a position where a guy can ride up like, you know, the white guy on his Charger, right? On the Champs-Elysees, you know, you can ride up and say, hey, I'm a big dickhead. Elect me and I will be your daddy. And that's the thing that bloody Dan Carlin brought up, which just made me lol, because, like, you know, I've recently been coming to terms with the fact that, yes, dear viewers, the man with the face that looks like the potato, and the autism, and the Kalman syndrome, and the things, and the stuff, right? I am indeed someone who is interested in dominating sexually, right? I'm never gonna, because like, nobody takes one look at me and doesn't run a fucking mile, but like, it's kind of funny for me because I've recently come to terms with the fact that I am someone who is, you know, fetishistically, you know, a dom, and it's like, all these people who love Donald Trump are basically a load of submissives going, oh, choke me harder, daddy. It's like he's all his army, all of his Nazi supporters, and just a whole load of submissives going, yeah, we like daddy, he's strong and hard and he punishes us. I know I shouldn't, he's an evil man, he's an evil, fucking stupid and utterly corrupt man, and he's fucking evil as sin. Like, this is modern day Hitler. But I can't help laughing at the thought that his supporters are just like, yeah, Daddy Trump, yeah, he's so tough and dominating, he's our leader. Dude, he's not your daddy. He's not your grand leader, he's not your Führer, he's not your God Emperor. He is your humble first citizen. He is the guy who is supposed to be a check on power. He is the guy who is supposed to be a check on the power of Congress. He's just supposed to be... He's not supposed to be a leader. He's just supposed to go, no, you know what, that's a load of bollocks, fuck that. Come back to me with a better idea. He's supposed to have little power. He is supposed to be the first citizen. And instead, you've gotten yourself a shite emperor. And it's like, you skipped Julius, you skipped Octavius, the Augustus, you know. No Hadrian, no Trajan. You just got mad Caligula. Mad Caligula. It's... yeah. Insane. And, you know, I shared on Facebook, like, this kind of horror story that I could kind of imagine happening, you know? I'm gonna tell you it now. And then I'm gonna tell you what's scary for me. So, this is how I imagine it's gonna go down. first, we're gonna hear reports that that Trump has decided that the only way to counter the threat of extremism in the country, and to properly vet and make sure that immigrants coming into the country are not a danger, is to just keep them concentrated in particular places, to make sure that they are monitored by security so that they are well protected against the danger caused by all these white terrorists, for their own security and protection, and so that the nation's security can be maintained and protected as they look out for signs of radicalization. And so these camps are set up. And for a long time, they'll be denied. They'll be denied. Like, they will be denied even as CNN is streaming, is showing video evidence, streaming of all these, you know, government officials going around arresting people, dragging them, and putting them forcibly into the camps. Right? People will be live tweeting as they are sent into the fucking camps, as they are put into this place. There will be live footage streaming of outside the camps of people being dragged in, and of the screaming and the crying, and then and the Trump administration won't care. They'll lie. They'll say this isn't happening. What are you talking about? We don't do these sort of things. Insist that anyone who seems to be showing these things is just propaganda. America doesn't do these sorts of things. All the while, these lone wolf white supremacist terrorists are committing more and more atrocities. And then people start dying in the camps. And there is footage emerging of people being shot at the camps. And now is when the Trump administration will admit, hey, we set up these camps because we wanted to make sure that there was no risks of radicalization. And yeah, it turns out some people were radicalized. They got killed because they were going to blow up people, and that would be bad. That's when work on the wall starts actually having progress made. Except the barbed wire is on America's side. Because it's not to stop people coming into the country, it's to stop them leaving. And that's the scary thing about that is I could see this happening. I could really see this happening, and I was just seeing on, like, you know, social media the other day that, like, it's starting to happen. You know, the ban was stopped by the courts, and yet these people, these government, you know, these government agencies are still going around, and they're not only going around asking to see people's IDs, they are outright dragging them, basically kidnapping them, and taking them to government facilities. Forcibly restraining and transporting people that they suspect of being immigrants here illegally, right? Or even just people who are immigrants into the country, and that because Trump said that's bad, they're restraining them and transporting them. And we aren't at Auschwitz yet. We aren't at invading Poland yet. But things are getting fucking scary. Because America has let itself become a dictatorship light. And now it has elected a dictator to the role of dictatorship light. And it's now that I kind of feel like I need to address the issue of anti-fascist. Okay. Revenge is wrong. Vigilantism is wrong. The good guy with a gun is a fucking myth. But the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And under utilitarian morality, killing someone to prevent genocide is absolutely a moral thing to do. Donald Trump is an authoritarian racist appealing to racists whose election has made a whole lot of racists feel empowered to go out and abuse people, to abuse the weak and the vulnerable and the different, the other. I do not like or approve of revenge or vigilantism. And I certainly do not like or approve of murder, of killing. But these are Nazis. These are genocidal individuals who pose a clear and present danger to the majority of people in America and in the world. We are a society that is accustomed to the idea of privilege. And what is privilege if not a way to clarify the mathematics of utilitarian morality? It is not just the value of a person's life, it is the value of that particular demographic. This generation understands very fucking well how the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. This generation has fought long and hard for their rights. This generation has been brought up on the idea that fighting fascism is the right and moral thing to do, and that giving your life, doing actions that are illegal to do things that are morally right is a good thing to do. These people are not just going to sit by and let others be persecuted and oppressed and exterminated. In any war, there are going to be soldiers on both sides. When a bunch of fascists got into power, when a whole load of fascists decided that Donald Trump being elected meant they got to oppress and fight and destroy those they saw as different, the anti-fascists mobilized. If you don't like anti-fascists, then you do not put fascists into power. Because anti-fascists are society's white blood cells against the fascist viruses. Anti-fascists are society's way of protecting itself against the genocidal threat fascists represent. Do fascists get it wrong? Do fascists overstep the line? Yes and yes. Are fascists going to stop? No. As long as there are fascists in power, as long as there are fascists in power of such a fucking powerful country, they are not gonna stop. And the thing is that with the stakes that there are right now, and there are fucking high stakes, there are actual genocidal fans in the fucking White House. Donald Trump put bloody Steve Bannon on the Security Council. That is a clear and present danger to humanity. I'm personally not sure whether it would be morally right to take out Donald Trump, but I know for damn fucking sure that if Stephen Bannon were to cease being on the Security Council by whatever fucking way or means, that would be a good thing for humanity. It is a clear and present danger to humanity that Stephen Bannon has that kind of power, that a white supremacist has that kind of power. But the good news is that all of those gun lovers have decided to pass a law saying that mentally ill people can have guns. So, shouldn't be too long until Steve Bannon and Donald Trump are gotten rid of, eh? Sorry, I know it's petty as fuck, but I can't help laughing at the fact that one of my videos on Facebook just got dogpiled by a load of fascists because it was critical of guns and saying that we should ban guns. And it's like, here we have two madmen running the country who would be very handy for the safety of the world if they were to get shot dead tomorrow. And what do? They decide to pass a law saying that severely mentally ill people can have guns. Oh my god. Oh my god. I mean, wouldn't it just be utter poetry if Stephen Bannon or Donald Trump were assassinated by a severely mentally ill person who was only able to buy a gun because they decided to make it so that they could do so? Wouldn't that just be fucking poetic? Of course, life isn't poetry. Life is nihilism. things are not good. Things are not good at all. And we, as I say, it's not even the end of February. But yeah. When you have fascists, you're gonna get anti-fascists, and if you are angry and upset at the fact that anti-fascists exist, my advice to you is to fucking get rid of the fascists. Because they're gonna be, the anti-fascists are gonna be around as long as there are fascists to take out. And that's just the way it is. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go and render this long ass video. Guys, I want to make clear that assassinating Stephen Bannon or Donald Trump would be illegal and it would be stupid. It might be morally right, but then it would also be morally right to steal the money from all the rich fuckers and distribute it among the charities. But, you know, morally right things aren't legal things. This is why we have governments, to make sure that all the immoral buggers with all of the money fucking over the country are protected. So, yay, they're nice and safe. Anyway, yeah. It would be an incredibly stupid move to assassinate Stephen Bannon or Donald Trump. Especially as we aren't yet at war. But I can only think that it can't be long now before Britain, Europe and America are at war. Because, holy fuckballs, America is just terrifying at the moment. Thank you to all my Patreons at patreon.com for helping to make videos like this possible. If you wish to leave a like or dislike to rate the video for my analytics, that would be much appreciated. Comments are always welcome, though be aware that they will be moderated before being published, so please be civil. If you liked this video, please consider adding it to your favourites, sharing it to your friends, or subscribing. If you wish to help me out, or my channels, please consider whitelisting my videos in your adblock software, subscribing for monthly donations through Patreon, or giving a small one-off donation. Alternatively, I have a Steam wishlist for games I would consider let's playing or streaming, so if you would like to see me broken before the Dark Souls altar, or just happen to have gotten a duplicate of a game in a humble bundle, then you know what to do. I also have an official Facebook fan page, Twitter account, Tumblr, Reddit and blog, so you can stay up to date with all of my videos, blog articles and the things I care about. Links are in the video description. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I think that all that now needs to be said is ban all guns, institute universal basic income now, and ensure government is elected by proportional representation. Oh, and also, fuck the racists and fuck the alt-right.